conversations are, well, tough to have, right? But when emotions are running high, it's even tougher. And as I shoot this video, there's a lot going on here in the United States where people's emotions are heightened. But anytime there are heightened emotions, it makes it harder to communicate. So today I want to talk about some tips to help you communicate well at all times, but especially when people's emotions are running high. Now, I am not an expert on communication. I did go to, I have a Bachelor of Arts from a communications school, public communications, so I have some expertise, and as a high performance coach, I have a little bit of expertise and I have some life experience. I've read a lot about this, so I just want to say that I don't think that I'm the be all or end all on communication. I also am not trying to make any political comments, social comments, to comment on the news, none of that, okay? I'm coming at you neutral with just some tips that I have found to be helpful, and as a high performance coach that I know to be helpful for communicating well in difficult situations, okay? So here we go. The first one is to choose your words carefully. Choose your words carefully. You have to be super careful right now to make sure that you're not pointing the finger at any one group or using words that are inflammatory, okay? So be very careful in choosing your words. Somebody created a Facebook post and somebody commented on it and singled out a group. And I had to, I felt inclined to respond. I kind of reacted and to say, hey, that's anti-Semitic, that's judgmental, that's prejudiced. And it created a dialogue that wasn't so great, but it was all because this person chose to use one word that indeed pointed a finger at one group and created issues, at least for me. So be careful with your words. Choose them carefully, okay? Number 2 is to be clear about what you want. It's so easy to have that misunderstood, if you don't over-explain, if you don't over-communicate, people won't know. And I realized this yesterday while I was walking on my driveway, and there's another driveway that joins up with it. And the guy who was coming down had a little dog, and the dog ran over to me, and I put all my attention on this dog who was coming over for a pat, right, to say hello, and I love dogs. And so I was paying attention to the dog, and he was telling me that he didn't want me to pet the dog because he was afraid the dog would get COVID-19 from me. Anyway, without going into a lot of explanation on that, let's just say that he wasn't super clear right away about what he wanted and what his concerns were. And so it took him saying it a couple times till I really got it, till I heard his message. And a communication requires two. It requires a broadcaster and a receiver. And so as the receiver, I didn't get that broadcast. It wasn't clear enough. So over-communicate your wants, desires, needs, okay? And be super clear about that. Number 3 is to listen well. So in that same situation, I didn't listen well, because I was concerned about the dog, because I love dogs and I don't have a dog right now. And my granddoggy isn't here this year. And so I was just focused on the dog and petting the dog, which is exactly what he didn't want me to do. But I wasn't listening. I wasn't present. You have to be present to listen well. And I wasn't present. I was focused on the dog and petting the dog rather than being present with him and what he was saying to me. So I really wasn't listening well. So we have to make sure, if we don't want to have inflammatory conversations with people, we have to make sure that we're listening to them, that we're fully present and listening to their words and understanding them, which takes me to number 4, which is to be understanding. You can't be understanding if you don't understand the other person, right? But you have to begin to put yourself in the other person's shoes. You have to walk in their shoes, because that's how we see from their perspective. And the thing is that people who like terrorists and school shooters and rioters. These are people who are trying to be heard, and they want to be understood as well. And if we don't stop and listen and pay attention to them and be understanding, then we will react rather than respond to them from an emotional place, and they're already emotional. So again, we need to step back and be understanding and try to see things from their perspective, and then we may find that we can understand where they're coming from, which doesn't mean we have to condone what they've done, but we can understand it. Number 5 is to have patience. When people's emotions are heightened, it creates a whirlwind, and we get caught up in that, right? It reminds me of kind of Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, right? And the tornado's coming and she gets caught up in it. And that's what happens for us, is we get caught up. And so when we need to slow down, we need to take a pause and be patient and listen and find a way to respond rather than react. So when we're caught up in that emotional tornado, we tend to just react without any thought. And so we need to pause, and we need to actually think about what our response will be. Now, with the lady on Facebook, I definitely could have done a better job of pausing and thinking about what I was going to say in response to her, what I was going to write. And I could have probably created a different type of conversation on Facebook with her. I could have been more patient with my neighbor and really just listened to him rather than trying to immediately say something back. And that goes to the understanding part again, to really try to have patience and understand and then say something. Okay, number 6 is to be kind. Be kind. Kindness just goes a long way. And I'm sorry, a tree fell. It's really windy here. So kindness goes a long way. And we just need to remember that everyone's doing the best they can, and be kind to them. Even if you disagree with someone, you come from very different perspectives, you can still be kind. And kindness is going to take every conversation farther. It's going to create way more peaceful conversations than if you lack kindness. Number 7 is to forgive. Now, I know it can feel really hard to forgive someone who maybe, did shoot kids in a school, or who murdered someone, or abused you in some way. It can feel really difficult. And again, forgiveness doesn't have to mean condoning their behavior, but the only person being hurt by not forgiving is you, not them. We think that if we don't forgive them, that somehow we're having an effect on them, and we're not. So it's just hurting you. So forgive, let it go. And when you then approach your conversation with people who you've forgiven, you will find that your conversations are very different. I think about family members who have done things, that I didn't like. And there was a business partner I had for a while who I had to pay. I had to hire a lawyer and pay her for my own intellectual property. And she came up to me at an event one time and wanted to talk and have lunch. And I realized in that moment that being angry at her wasn't helping me any. And it wasn't doing anything to her. And so it was better to just forgive her and be kind. And the same with my family members. Better to forgive them and be kind and get along and have conversations that are peaceful and healthy, and have healthier relationships in the process. So forgive. It'll help, because the other thing is that when you don't forgive, you have conversations with people that are volatile from the beginning, because you show up already angry and hurt. And so they say something and it just triggers you right away. But you go into it without the kind of centered, loving, kind, understanding, present way of being that would create better communication. Number 8 is to be a role model. I want you to think about the people that you think are the best role models, and to show up like them. Use them as a role model of good communication and try to be like them. The other thing is for you to role model the behavior you want the people you have conversations with to have. So I know that there are my family members of mine who are quite volatile, and it's very easy for there to be blow-ups. But if I show up, like with my children, if I show up role modeling the behavior I want them to have, if I stay calm and peaceful and understanding and present in these in my conversations with them, even if they begin to get upset, they will calm down much faster and we'll be able to have a conversation that's productive. So be a role model. Number 9 is actions matter. So when we communicate with more than just our voice. We communicate with our body language, we communicate with our voice. And so we have to be very careful about these things. So you don't want to, sit with your arms crossed, while you're talking to someone because it looks like you're angry. You don't want to scowl. You don't want to raise your voice. I have several family members, my husband and my son in particular, who raise their voice when they feel passionate or when they are excited about something or adamant. And for me, it's super scary because it feels like they're angry. It sounds like they're angry, and that makes me back off, and it makes it very hard for us to communicate. So remember that the pitch and tonality of your voice is going to make a difference. The volume of your voice will make a difference, and how you stand, if you stand with your hands on your hips or your arms crossed or whatever, or you're scowling, makes a difference. Also makes a difference if you're looking away. It shows them that you're not present, that you don't care, right? That you're not interested. So actions matter. And last, take responsibility, because it's so easy to blame others for problems with communication, or blame them for their actions. And communication is a two-way street. So if they're not hearing you or understanding you, it's something, it's your responsibility to communicate, to over-communicate, and it's their responsibility to listen better. But you can't do anything about them. You can only do something about yourself. So blaming them, judging them, being angry at them, all those things aren't going to help you communicate well. So all of these things put together, if you take these 10 tips, choose your words carefully. Be careful about what you want. Listen well. Be understanding. Have patience. Be kind. Forgive. Be a role model. Remember that actions matter and take responsibility. If you do those things, your communication with people, even when emotions are running high, will be so much better. They'll go so much more smoothly. And if you apply these to any conversation you have at any time, you'll find, again, that your communication is so much better. Even the toughest conversations will go better. So that's it for today. I'm Nina Amir, the Inspiration to Creation Coach. I help people get from where they are to where they want to go. I'm a high performance coach who focuses on helping people live into their best self and live fully in the process. If you are feeling like you are stuck, you're unhappy with your life, you're struggling during this, kind of tough year, 2020, you are have a vision of where you want to go and don't know how to get there, I would love to talk to you. And you can do that by filling out, you can take advantage of that offer to talk to you. I would love to give you a free strategy session for 60 to 90 minutes. Just click on the link above and fill out the application that's low down on that page. Just fill out the application, and let's talk about how to get you from where you are to where you want to go faster than you actually think is possible. Okay? So that's it for today. Again, Nina Amir, the Inspiration to Creation Coach. Until I talk to you next time, go out there and achieve more inspired results.